Welcome back, Romies. Isn't Baja Mexico dangerous? That's the question that gets typed into Google at midnight when someone's trying to plan a trip while simultaneously talking themselves out of it. Or when a well meaning family member has gotten into their head and now the whole thing feels like a terrible idea. But the fears are real, and I hear the same ones every time. So today we're going to go through them. The worst version of each one, what our actual experiences have been while we've been in Baja, and what you need to know and take actionable steps to avoid. I'm Karen, and this is Karen Roams. I've been driving Baja for the past 10 years, and here's the first thing I'll tell you. There's essentially one main road down the peninsula. Highway 1 runs the length of it. Highway 5 runs the top third of the east side and merges in about a third of the way down. Both are real roads. Both are reasonably well signed. It's not a complicated navigation situation. The road is simple. It's what's on the other side that's extraordinary. First up, your first fear, is it safe? The worst version, you cross the border, something terrible happens, wrong road, wrong turn, wrong moment, and there's nobody to help you and no way home. The reality? Here's the question I always want to ask back. Safe compared to what? Every city has crime. Every country has places you shouldn't wander alone at 2 a.m. Mexico's not uniquely dangerous, it's just unfamiliar, and our brains tend to treat unfamiliar as unsafe. What I've actually found over 10 years of driving Baja is that the Mexican people are some of the most genuinely welcoming people I've encountered anywhere in the world. Not in a tourist industry way, in a real human way. There's a generosity of spirit down there that's hard to explain until you've experienced it, and then it's hard to forget. All you really need to do is pay attention, stay present, don't make choices you wouldn't make at home. Same answer applies everywhere in the world where you travel. But what about the cartels? The worst version is you take a wrong turn, end up somewhere you shouldn't be, and find yourself in the middle of something you have no business being near. I've never experienced anything personally, but a friend of ours did find a beautiful spot at the end of a dirt road right on the water. They set up camp, watched sunset, felt pretty good about life. At dusk, a couple of trucks pulled up. Our men got out, walked over, and very politely told my friends that they were camped in the wrong spot and they needed to leave. So they packed up and left, quickly, without asking questions. Were they cartel? We don't know for certain. Are we going to ask? Absolutely not. Nobody got hurt. Nobody was threatened beyond the very clear suggestion that it was time to go. They left, and that was the end of it. Look, the cartels are running operations. They're not looking for trouble with tourists. If you're not involved with drugs in any way, you're simply not their concern. But that doesn't mean you want to wander into situations that don't involve you. The practical steps we take is we don't drive after dark unless it's absolutely necessary. We are off the road before sunset, not because danger is guaranteed after dark, but because it's when you're most likely to stumble onto something that has nothing to do with you. We follow it without exception. Another thing we do is if we're going to a new spot, we just don't go by ourselves. We try to be in a larger group. There's safety in numbers. Well, what about crooked cops? The worst version, you get pulled over, a violation gets invented, and you're stuck paying a bribe on the side of the road or being taken somewhere you don't want to go. Here's our experience. We got pulled over near Rocky Point. Donnie had been speeding through a small town. I had noticed I'd said something. He had a different read on the situation, but the officer was calm and professional. He took Donnie's license, just like here, and we followed him to the station. We paid the fine in cash, we got our license back, and we were on the road within an hour. More straightforward than some of the stops I've had here at home. So the practical solution is that the mordida does exist. I won't pretend otherwise. There's basically two schools of thought on it. One is insist on going to the station, or pay and move on. It's your call. Either way, they will take your license at the stop, and they may not give it back to you until the fine is paid. So think through your options before you need them. Sometimes a dash cam or a request for a name and badge number or playing dumb is enough for them to just finally give up. Sometimes it isn't. Have a plan. Who drives if you're without a license? How do you get to a station, whatever it is? Don't be rude. Don't be in a hurry. Follow the driving laws. They apply to you. But also know that even if you do get everything right, you can still find yourself in this situation. Stay calm and you'll get through it. Another fear is, but I don't speak Spanish. The worst version is you need help, you can't make yourself understood, and the language gap turns something manageable into a crisis. We had a situation where my daughter got stung by a horseshoe ray in the bay, and our lack of Spanish didn't really deter us. So she was in a lot of pain and we needed a clinic. A nice fisherman on the beach had seen the whole thing, and he pulled out his Google Translate on his phone and pointed us towards town. Definitely not where Google Maps had wanted to send us, which was in the middle of the desert somewhere. Getting specific directions to the clinic in the town in a foreign language was hard, so we just drove into town and started asking people on the street. The useful thing to know is hospital in Spanish is hospital. It's spelled the same. Just point and ask, people will get you there. The clinic receptionist spoke zero English. We showed her the wound, explained where we had been saying, and she knew exactly what happened. A nurse came in and took us to a room with enough English that we mostly were able to follow along. The doctor that came in spoke perfect English. This is Mulahe. It's a town of a few thousand people. We had no real problem getting help. They cleaned her wound, gave her some light pain meds, sent us on our way. The bill was $16 paid in cash at the desk. The practicalities are that most educated people in Mexico speak English. The ones who don't will still go out of their way to help you. Don't underestimate how gracious the Mexican people are. And definitely download Google Translate with the offline Spanish pack before you cross. A few words carry you further than you think. People want the exchange to work. Let them help you. Another fear is that the roads are terrible. The worst version is you're an hour into Baja and the road turns into something that was never really a road. Stuck, alone, no idea what's ahead. Our experience is that Highway 1 is a real road, but it definitely has some personality. There are stretches where Donnie and I glance at each other and neither of us quite knows whether to be relieved we're out here or alert about what's around the next bend. Not fear, more like a reminder that you're actually somewhere cool. One time someone flagged us down on a mountain pass. We stopped, always stop, though I wouldn't pick anyone up. And it turned out that a massive windmill blade was being transported by truck over the mountain. There was no way we would both fit through that section at the same time. So we pulled over and waited with a half a dozen other vehicles, including 2 Federale trucks with machine guns in the back. Which sounds alarming, but we totally got our picture taken with these guys. It was fine. The blade passed, everyone moved on. Had we ignored the flagger, it would have been a very different story. Practical solutions are to check Baja Nomads, Baja Overlanding, or Talk Baja on Facebook before you go. Real conditions from people who drove it last week. If someone flags you down, stop and have the conversation. The Baja grapevine will tell you more than any app will. Another fear is getting sick. The worst version, you eat something on day 2 and spend the rest of the trip watching a ceiling fan turn. In our experience, we've never gotten sick from the food. The one time I was genuinely down in Mexico was at a fancy resort outside Mexico City. And honestly, that was probably more self-induced than anything. Everything else has been a head cold or predictable consequences of enjoying myself a little too thoroughly the night before. The scary looking places are usually fine. The polished ones are where you let your guard down. Just eat where the Mexicans eat. Busy stands, high turnover, cooked hot in front of you. The loncheria with the handwritten menu and the work trucks out front. That is not where you get sick. Practically speaking, don't drink the tap water. Full stop. Purified water is everywhere and costs almost nothing. Keep charcoal tablets in your bag. They work whether the problem is food or purely your own fault. No judgment. There's a pharmacy in almost every small town you'll pass through, and as I can tell you from Mulahe, the medical care in small Mexican towns is good, accessible, and shockingly affordable. I'm honestly not worried about getting sick in Mexico anymore. Another fear we get is, what if I break down in the middle of nowhere? The worst version is you're 3 hours from the nearest town, getting dark, car not moving. The reality is we haven't broken down yet. Knock on wood. But here's something worth knowing. In the US, people drive past you. In Mexico, they stop to help. Strangers pull over and try to get you back on the road as best they can. That changes what broken down in the middle of nowhere actually means. Another practical solution to this is we travel light on parts because we don't have much space, but we do always carry a full-size spare, some fix-a-flat, a small toolkit, and fuel additive in case we get bad gas, but that's never happened. And just know that this exists, the Green Angels. It's a government-funded roadside assistance program that patrols the major highways specifically for stranded travelers. Dial 078 in Mexico or 911 if that won't connect. Free service, you pay for parts only, and you tip the guys. You're not as alone out there as it feels when you're planning from home. Another fear is, what if I lose my documents? The worst version is your passport's gone, you're in a foreign country, and you have no idea how to get home. The reality is, we've only lost our FMM tourist card, never our passport, but it disappeared in Puerto Vallarta once. When you're driving, you can use the same card for 180 days of unlimited crossings, so you hang on to it rather than turning it in. So when we lost ours in Puerto Vallarta, all we had to do was fill out a new one, pay a fine, take some extra time. It was annoying, but not a crisis. I'm the one who lost it, not them. So my solutions now are to photograph everything before you cross. Passports, license, insurance, registration. Store it somewhere you can access it without data. I often photocopy everything as well. Just so you know, stays under 7 days in Baja don't technically require an FMM, but we always fill one out. And you don't need a vehicle import permit. The entire peninsula is a free zone. If your passport does go missing, the U.S. Embassy can issue you an emergency document. Bookmark mx.usembassy.gov before you leave. It's a process, not a catastrophe. They do it every day. Another fear is, what if I make a mistake I can't come back from? This is just kind of general anxiety. You're afraid you'll do something wrong, make a wrong turn, wrong moment, and there's no fixing it. This is the one that nobody names out loud, but I think it's sitting underneath every other fear on this list. And look, we've been pulled over. We've had a soldier poke through our camper with a rifle barrel while I held my breath. We've run super close on gas in places where that has a different weight to it. We've had our daughter stung by a ray in a bay we'd never been to, an hour from a town we didn't know. None of it ended the trip. None of it was unrecoverable. Every single one of those moments is now a story we tell at dinner. But the reality is, sometimes you just have to face your fears and move through them. A couple of things that I'd like to remind you of, though, that are not negotiable with us. We get Mexican auto insurance before we cross. We don't drive after dark unless we absolutely have to. And we don't involve ourselves with drugs. These are the 3 things that remove almost every scenario that actually goes badly. Everything else is just travel, imperfect, alive, and worth every single mile. Here's what I want to leave you with. Fear is information worth listening to. I'm not saying ignore it. I'm saying look at it directly, say the worst version out loud, and ask whether it actually holds up. Most of these don't. And if the whole peninsula feels like too much right now, it doesn't have to be. A week in Baja Norte puts you within a few hours of the U.S. border. Fresh seafood, local wine, a Sunday evening walk on the Malecon with the rest of the town watching sunset, surfers on spectacular breaks, hidden hot springs and waterfalls tucked into the hills. All of that less than 4 hours from home. Start small if you need to. You won't regret it. The rest, the full length of the peninsula, the desert coastline, the palm oasis, the hot springs that aren't on a map, that's still all there when you're ready. And once you've crossed once and felt the gap between what you were afraid of and what actually happened, the rest of Mexico starts looking very different. But that's a whole other video. If this information helped you get off the fence, share it with someone who's still on it, or someone whose family has been getting in their head. The 10 things video is linked right here if you want the full practical breakdown of driving in Baja. Not subscribed yet? Now's the time. Hit the button, turn on the notifications, find us on socials. The links are below. This is a community and we want you in it. So that's a wrap, Romies. Go get lost on purpose.